All right, as an effort to try and read an article a day to educate my community on both my community and myself on politics and economics, I'm just going to be reading two articles about Trump's tariffs. The news is from, was it just yesterday? Oh, yeah, 10:31 p.m. yesterday. So this one's about tariffs, Trump's auto tariffs, 25%. And we're going to read and make some reactions, and you guys talk in the comments about what you think about it. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of disagreement. Anybody that's even remotely interested in economics usually tends to swing slightly further to the right. I'm a progressive or liberal, but I'm studied got a business management degree. As a consequence, studied economics a little bit. So we'll have some disagreements, but hopefully we can talk, we can learn, and we can get something productive out of it. But we'll start. President Donald Trump said Wednesday he was planning a 25% tariff on auto imports, a move the White House claims will foster domestic manufacturing, but could also put a financial squeeze on automakers that depend on global supply chains. Trump says this will continue to spur growth, will effectively be charging a 25% tariff. All right, now, the tariffs, which the White House expects to raise $100 billion in revenue annually, could complicate as even U.S. automakers source their components from around the world, right? I mean, if most people already do know, but almost nothing is made in one area. You guys already obviously know the made in China jokes, but it's a lot more complicated. Maybe we could find a map of global supply chains. Map of global auto supply. The U.S. We'll say. We'll say U.S. global auto supply. It'd be nice to just get a good illustration, just to see where. I might not be able to get an automotive industry supply chain. Maybe. I just want to it'd be great to get an illustration, but I think this is just going to talk about trends in general. We'll have to find one later. Matter of fact, if anyone has a good one that shows a good illustration that can demonstrate how many steps and parts are involved, or places are involved with getting the parts together to make a vehicle, that'd be great. Anyway. They source opponents from all the world. The tax hike starting in April means automakers could face higher costs and lower sales. Though Trump argues the tariffs would lead to more factories opening up in the United States in the end, and what he judges to be a ridiculous supply chain in which auto parts and finished vehicles are manufactured across the United States, Canada, and Mexico. To underscore his seriousness about the tariffs directives he signed, Trump said this is permanent. That's concerning. But interesting point right here. Again, most people know this already, but again, there's going to be some people who don't. When they say the tax hike, again, a tariff effectively is a tax that importers pay to perform the act of importing, right? So a tariff on any good means that whoever is taking the business that takes in the good that's sold to them from a foreign country, made in a foreign country, or brought in, they have to pay to receive said good. And they pay it functionally how you'd pay. It's like your taxes just as a business increase to perform your operation. So that's why I say it's a tax, even if you've heard somebody say it's not a tax, but functions exactly the same, at least in the fact of a company. You could look at it just like a sales tax, but it's an import sales tax. That's pretty much how it functions. And the reason they say that's going to increase cost for consumers, generally, it's not always the case, but generally, if you want to keep at the very least, if you want to keep your margins the same, you have to you have to charge your customer more. Like if you had a certain margin and now you have an increased cost to retain the margin. And when I say margin, I mean, like, let's say it costs you $10 to buy all the equipment to make a product, and you wanted to sell it for $12. So that margin of $2, right? That's the return for every $10 spent. You take back $2 if you want to keep that same rate, because that's how you have, you're paying off investors. You have various things that you're taking care of with that $2 you get back for every $10 that you actually sell based on, or $12 you sell based on cost. You'd have to increase your prices. Say you got taxed, or in import tariff, like so for the same model I'm setting up for you, right? It takes you $10 to buy things to sell a product for $12, right? So for every $12 you sell, you get $2 of actual revenue. Say half of whatever your product is, it's like a very simple widget. It's just a block. It's just two. It's a block and a circle just put together. Say that circle you get from Mexico, and you're now putting a tariff on products on circles from Mexico. It's 25%. So half of that, we've got two. Hope this is going to seem complicated to anyone that doesn't know anything about economics, and it's going to seem super simple to anybody that does in like waste time. But so that circle, which is half of your $10 cost, let's say that it would have normally been $5, $5 each. Now we're going to do a 25% increase. What's 1/4 increase? We're at like $6.25, whatever, something like that. So now your product is somewhere around $11, $11.50, something around that range. Instead, so now you would have previously had a $2 revenue or margin or whatever, and now it's at 50 cents, and now you don't have your business doesn't operate the same way. Or in worst case scenario, say you sold a product for $12, and based on cost to make and other manufacturing and advertising, what if you were only making 50 cents in the first place? That increase in cost can make it so that you're actually in the negative for every product you sell. Now, let's read the rest of this before I go into the rest of the examples. Shares in General Motors fell roughly 3% on Wednesday. Trading Ford stock was up slightly. Shares in Stellantis, the owner of Jeep and Chrysler, dropped nearly 3.6%. Trump had long said tariffs against auto imports would be a defining policy of his presidency, betting that the cost created by the taxes would cause more production to relocate to the United States, while helping narrow the budget deficit. But the U.S. and foreign automakers have plans around the world to accommodate global sales while maintaining competitive prices, and it could take years for the companies to design and build and open new facilities that Trump is promising. Economist Mary Lovely says, I believe it's Lovely, right? So we're looking at much higher vehicle prices. We're going to see reduced choice. These kind of taxes fall heavily on the middle and working class. Now, the simple concept, I don't think she gets to it. Actually, let's see. She does get to it. She said more households will be priced out of the new car market, where prices are already an average of $49,000. We'll have to hang on to aging vehicles or continue to buy multiple used vehicles. Right. That's the other interesting thing. Like the used car market is, I grew up, I'm poor now and grew up poor, so I've never even considered buying a new car. But the only way that cars get, there's a negative impact if there aren't even people buying new cars to turn them into the used cars that a person like me buys. But let's get to why she's saying we're looking on these taxes fall more heavily on the middle and working class. In as simplest terms possible, it's a larger portion of their earnings are spent on goods like on these specific purchases, right? You make $50,000, say the average person makes around $60,000 a year. I think it's 60 in Connecticut where I was born, so $50,000 a year. If the car is $50,000, obviously they were gonna probably put a down payment on it or whatnot. So, but say they only had $5,000 to $12,000 they would have previously put on the down payment, and that was potentially workable. But now with the 25% tariff on multiple parts of the vehicle, because it's not just if the vehicle's if the entire vehicle is coming from another country, that's one thing. But if multiple parts of the vehicle, so many parts of which and so many parts of the process that it's basically 25% on the entire vehicle, well now you're priced out, because it went from you needed $5,000 to $12,000 down payment to now you need like a $7,500 to $18,000 down payment. Again, these numbers are largely be guesstimating, but like you're just priced out, like because you didn't start making any more money suddenly. And again, there could be impacts that, like say, manufacturing plants start getting produced in the United States at some point, and around these manufacturing plants, there's other sectors of industries that can grow. I mean, like we had Detroit's whole car boom, Chicago and everything, I believe, our boom in Bridgeport, where I was born. We had large manufacturing bases in the 1920s, I think up to the 1950s. And that's been long since gone. So, if you're an older person who remembers a different era of major cities and how they made their money, you probably, much like Trump, you think bringing back manufacturing is key. And finding ways to onsure manufacturing is important to me. I did like conceptually the idea of that Biden has like green jobs that are still manufacturing, still building things. I like the idea of building nuclear plants. I think that's important work to do because maintaining and creating it's a large project to do. Gets a lot of people work. You build things around such an area. It's an energy center. It's a hub. Like I think those things can make sense. But like this doesn't in the short term, which is interesting because the voters were really talking about in the short term. How do they make it to the next? People are living paycheck to paycheck. If like 7 years from now, by the time they're done building their factories, we have slightly increased economic output, not even cheaper prices, because cheaper prices are not a part of this. There's no variation of this. Like tariffs usually just make it so that the prices always stay up. Because again, like as soon as like the only way for it to be cheaper is if somehow American companies could produce the vehicles cheaper than the other countries could, but we wouldn't need a tariff to do that if we could do that, right? We'll just keep reading. Tariffs on autos will start lifted on April 3rd, Trump said. If the taxes are fully passed on to the consumers, the average auto price on an imported vehicle can jump by $12,500. That's heavy. That's heavy. A sum that could feed into overall inflation. Trump voted back into the White House last year because voters believed he would bring down prices. Yeah, that's a big thing. The whole point was to bring down prices. I don't know if auto prices were everyone's specific concern. It should be. I think defaults on car loan payments are at the highest maybe ever. I defaulted on my old car like 2 years back. About 2 years back, so I drive rental cars with Uber right now. I just couldn't make the payments. I was doing Uber. I wasn't making enough money doing Uber to pay for my vehicle. But that's my own poor decision making. That's my own poor planning, my assumption getting a job. This, however, this isn't like when someone else fails to afford to get a car in the first place, and the price of even used cars is going to go up because there's more people are going to be joining the used car market on the demand side. That's going to increase prices, and now a poorer person, like you would have paid $8,000 for your used car, now that's $10,000, right? Because there's a lot more competition to buy the same vehicle. All right, let's read. Foreign leaders were quick to criticize tariffs, a sign that Trump could be intensifying border trade war that could damage growth worldwide. It's a very direct attack. Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney said, "We will defend our workers, we will defend our companies, we will defend our country." In Brussels, European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen expressed regret that the U.S. decision to target autos from Europe vowed the bloc would protect consumers and businesses. Tariffs are taxes. Bad for business, worse for consumers, equally in the U.S. and the European Union. She said that I disagree that it's equally bad. There's impacts that are bad. I'd argue that, especially in the United States sense, the sum total of the amount of tariffs we're doing and are in what's the isolationist economic principles that we're really taking on, I think those are worse for the United States, or equally bad for us as the rest of the country. But like on an individual basis, the tariffing, like say your country mostly does the auto, like the tariff, like a U.S. tariffing that is bad for them, right? And again, no matter what variation of, less people are buying cars from that country. That's bad for them, potentially more. But I do think the sum total of Trump's foreign policy is as bad, if not worse, for the United States. Let's see, tariffs are bad. She said in a statement, the U.S. executive branch would assess the impact and move as well as U.S. tariffs plan in the coming days. So Trump announced, also, by the way, I'm not so cocky that I'm probably going to get a series of things wrong, but the point of this is for me to re-educate myself, get back in. So when I make mistakes, correct me here. Maybe I should do like every 2 weeks, go through different comments that were corrections and things I said. Not in the near future. So right now you can correct me ahead, start a dialogue. Maybe I'll make a thing of at the end of the next video, I'll read some comments. Probably mostly the ones that disagree with me. If there's people that disagree with me, maybe, I probably won't do much shouting out, but educating me, correcting, fact-checking me, I'll probably be like, that seems useful. I imagine a lot of education is going. But the hope is I get a lot of people that are interested in these topics that don't really have a space. A lot of young people who are interested in economics that want to make them change, want to run in policies. Anyway, sorry. As Trump announced the new tariffs, he indicated he would like to provide a new incentive to help car buyers by allowing them to deduct their federal income taxes, the interest paid on auto loans. So as long as their vehicles were made in America, the deduction would eat into some of the revenues that generate. See, that's the other thing. Like, this is what the issue with tariffs, both Biden and Trump tariffs that we've done before. Any money that we did make in the tariffs, we spent that a lot of money just subsidizing a part of the industry that kind of just counteracted. Like, was it the Oh, I can't remember the markets. We'll get into that later. But like in this specific instance, it's like how much benefit can we get? Like, I mean, if at some, if he's gonna diminish the cost of, like, I'm wondering what the strategy is. Like, okay, it's not going to cost the home buyers as much as long as they bought an American car because they can have now a tax write-off. Let's reread that again. By allowing them to deduct the federal income taxes, the insurance paid on loans. Okay. I mean, it makes it cheaper. It just feels like by that same metric, you just make it a 25% tariff, just make it a smaller tariff, right? This seems like a more complicated means of if you're trying to get them to save money. Like, it's going to hurt the consumers, and if it doesn't hurt the consumers, then we're not making any money from it, right? Like, look, I'm a progressive. I'm generally like, yeah, sometimes you do have to raise taxes, unfortunately. It sucks, but that's just kind of how the world works. Obviously, as a progressive, I'd like to. My main thing is like increase funding for the IRS to make sure the people that are supposed to be paying taxes are actually paying their fair share at the top. And when it just comes to, like, once you've gotten all the fair shares of taxes, can you change? Can you tax wealth more? Can you find ways to tax capital gains or inheritance or whatnot? Generally, I'm not really too keen on people who are born into a lot of money being set for life by nature of having chosen the right parents. But again, like that's my thing is like, look, things are gonna cost more. It's gonna, like, as a progressive, when I look at things that I'm costing more to balance a budget, I'm like, that's the only way that, like, for the most part. It's almost like, damn, you'd think a Democrat would have came up with this. Because we're increasing taxes to balance the budget, which is what you got to do. Like, there's not really enough areas to cut spending. Even with the Doge cuts, you haven't cut enough to really make any dent, so you have to tax more. The new tariffs would apply to both finished autos and parts in the used vehicles, according to the White House official who spoke on the condition of anonymity to discuss the taxes on call with reporters. Tariffs would be on top of any existing taxes that were legally based on the 2019 Commerce Department's investigation that occurred during Trump's first term on national security grounds. For autos on parts under the USMCA, the United States, Mexico, Canada, I guess it's just Canada, trade pact applying to the United States, Mexico, and Canada, 25% tariffs would apply to non-U.S. content. The administration is reasoning that there is an excessive capacity of the U.S. automakers that will enable them to ramp up the production to avoid tariffs by manufacturing more domestically. The official noting that the automaker has known since Trump's campaign that tariffs were coming. Yeah, but they didn't know Trump was going to win, right? Like, for 4 straight years, they're uncertain who's up next. They didn't even know Trump was going to be the front runner for the first year and a half. Then Biden's in, and then it's like, oh, Trump was going to lose, and then Harris. Like, no one could make plans for this. Like, there's just too much uncertainty. The auto tariffs were part of a broader reshaping of the global relations by Trump, who plans to impose what he calls reciprocal taxes on April 2nd that would match tariff sales charged by other nations. Trump has already placed 20% import on all imports from China. That's up from the previous 10%. For its role in the production of fentanyl. That's why. Sure. Look, our fentanyl does come from China, so it's not nothing. He's similarly placed 25% tariffs on Mexico and Canada with a lower 10% tax on Canadian energy products. Parts of Mexico and Canada tariffs have been suspended, including taxes on autos after automakers objected. Trump responded by giving them a 30-day reprieve that's set to expire. So, it's coming back. The president also imposed 20% tariffs on all steel and aluminum imports, no matter where they come from. I mean, how far are we in? Let's just look at that. Donald Trump made a lot of big promises in his 2024 run. The Associated Press is tracking some of them. Let's look at whether Trump's delivering on immigration in progress for its complicated taxes. No promises kept there, apparently. Energy apparently is kept by drilling. Even the energy one is a complicated one, that I'd argue, because there is a limit to the drilling. Well, that's a topic for another time. His taxes are a risk igniting a broader global trade war with escalating retaliations that could crush global trade, potentially hurting economic growth while raising prices for families and businesses. As some of the costs and taxes get passed along to importers. The European Union retaliated with a 50% tariff on U.S. spirits. Trump provided with a 200% tax on alcoholic beverages from the EU. This is so petty. Trump also intends to place a 24% tariffs on imported oil from Venezuela, even though the United States also imports oil from that nation. So if you get oil from Venezuela, I'm putting tariffs on you, even though we do the same thing. Trump's aides maintain that tariffs on Canada and Mexico are about stopping illegal drug smuggling and immigration, but the administration also wants to use tariffs to tariff revenues to lower budget deficits to assert America's preeminence in the world's largest economy. President on Monday cited plans by the South Korean automaker Hyundai to build a $5.8 billion steel plant in Louisiana as evidence in terms of bringing back manufacturing jobs. Slightly more than 1 million people are employed domestically in these manufacturing motor vehicle parts, are around 320,000 fewer in 2000, according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics. Okay, so a lot of people were not in the field anymore. That makes sense, so other people specialize. The United States imported nearly 8 million cars, light trucks worth $244 billion by Mexico, Japan, South Korea, and they were the top sources of foreign vehicles. Imports of autos came from 197 billion, led by Mexico, Canada, China. So the parts came from there. Okay, so that's the full article. That's the other interesting thing. When it comes to some of these tariffs and doing local things, I'm sorry, it's like 5 a.m. It's 6 a.m. while I'm recording this, but I wanted to get a video up before I'm done. We might read the Reuters article later because I've already been recording for a while. Let's actually switch over and see how long I've been doing this. 21 minutes. Yeah, we're gonna wrap this up. Apple has made a promise about being, I think, a $500 billion investment on that's supposed to create 20,000 new jobs. Let's actually find that. Let's find that real quick. So I like not to just make things up. Apple 20,000 new jobs. Okay, let's find that. I just need to see if they mention the last, because they've mentioned doing this before, is what I saw somewhere else. Real quick. Let's see. Trump mostly episodes of the mass producing. Nope, doesn't mention it. I'm looking for the last times they said that. Jobs again. From the best phrasing. I might have to. Maybe Forbes will mention it. I just want to see if they mentioned the last time they done this. I'm not disabling my ad blocker, so bye Forbes. Damn it, whatever. We'll have to find this later. Someone potentially in the comments can find this for me. But the video I was watching was talking about how Apple had previously mentioned they were going to invest a bunch of money and bring 20,000 jobs. I think it was 400 billion last time, and maybe it was 350 billion before. Maybe if I look up 400 billion, that actually might do. One sec while I look this up. Apple investing billion. No, because they're showing me the new one. I'll bring you guys over in a second. It's like 2016. Can they not show me any old news? Well, we'll get to it. Anyway, that's about it. It's just a point about them bringing jobs over. It's complicated to bring jobs back. You have to build a new factory. There's a lot of regulations that still will end up being done. Trump will probably make there be as little of those regulations as possible. These tariffs are going to increase cost and inflation, as generally is described as, the decreased purchasing power of a given currency. And when products cost more money, more of a currency to get the same value or same good or service, we'll say, that's inflationary. So like necessarily tariffs are inflationary, but multiple things can be inflationary, right? That's why it's slightly more printing more money is also inflationary for a different reason. It's inflationary because the supply of money now has increased. It's like inversely proportional to demand, right? Because now more people have access to money. So now the sellers of products be like, okay, well, now there's more money available in a pool. I can sell my products for more stuff. That's why inflation happens, and everybody does it. And when we just generally increase the total supply of money, everybody has access to it, hypothetically. So when you have limited increases of supply, like if a person makes more money and they decide to spend more on things, that doesn't impact the entire pool. We can talk more about inflation later. Look, this stuff sucks. I'm sure I'm gonna get a lot of comments disagreeing. That's fine. We'll get into it at some point. I do live streams. Most of my live streams are video games. They're really goofy stuff. They're with my very autistic, very gay, very LGBT community, and they're not super big into economics. But I am gonna probably do some streams here on YouTube. And the YouTube streams, I'll probably make them more politics and economics based, and that way we can bring people on. We'll talk about news more frequently, and I'll probably do it while I'm doing homework. I'll be honest. So I'll be reading articles while I'm coding, while I'm learning to code, where I'm like practicing Excel and stuff like that. And then I'll bring people on a Discord channel and we can chat about these things while I'm doing. I'm ADHD, like to multitask while I'm doing stuff. I'll try to, and if it gets really hot, I'll get onto attention. But that's it. That's all that is for today. If you like what you saw, leave a like, do a subscribe, and do a comment. Let me know what's going on. And also, you can just recommend other articles that you think would be interesting to me, or videos that you want to react to. But that's enough. Bye-bye.